In today's episode, we discuss Ed's pro boxing career and his upcoming comeback, fatherhood, mindset, and how childhood affects us. I really hope you'll enjoy today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. Today's show is brought to you by Icepod, finally an affordable, portable, and effective way to get the benefits of cold water immersion in the comfort of your own home. I opted for the Pro Bundle, which includes the Icepod, a water circulating pump, a special insulated lid, and a thermometer to check the temp of your water. Even in Georgia, the Icepod keeps my water between 60 and 70 degrees, and when I load it up with a 36-pack of water bottles that I use and refreeze after each session, I can easily get it around 50 degrees for the perfect cold water immersion experience. Despite being light and portable, the Icepod is super durable, and it's the perfect solution for anyone who wants to experience the benefits of cold water immersion without spending thousands of dollars for a home water chiller or trying to DIY your own. Cold immersion can help with recovery and muscle soreness, raise dopamine levels, help you wake up and be more alert, help you to burn more calories, mobilize brown fat, and more. Visit podcompany.com and use my special promo code SHANE50107 for $10 off your order, and each sale helps to support the show as well. Stay cool out there, people. Are you looking for the perfect high-protein snack that isn't loaded with stuff like MSG, nitrates, and sugar? Carnivore Snacks is the perfect high-protein snack made from quality grass-fed beef and salt. That's it. Each bag uses 1 pound of high-quality beef, lamb, pork, or chicken, salt, and nothing else. Aside from being easy, healthy, and convenient, they also taste great. These snacks are not just another jerky. They are way better. Give a bag a try, and I know you'll keep coming back. Check out Carnivore Snacks, spelled with an X.com, and enter coupon code SHANE05137 for 15% off your order, and each sale will help support the Renaissance Wisdom podcast as well. Welcome to the Renaissance Wisdom podcast, where ancient and modern wisdom come together to create a better way of living. I'm your host, Shane Sorensen, and each week we speak with successful people from a plethora of disciplines in search of wisdom from their own lives. Your own personal Renaissance begins today. Let wisdom be your guide. Hey everybody, welcome to the Renaissance Wisdom podcast. I'm your host, Shane Sorensen. I'm here with today's guest, Ed Latimore. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I'm glad we were able to link up this morning.
Yeah, it's a good day, you know. So I just had my son, and I figured I wouldn't have to set an alarm. And don't you know, this was the one day he decided he was going to sleep in.
Oh
So
man,
it's all good. I set my alarm. I was up,
yeah,
but I was like, oh, that's funny. The alarm got me up, not him.
sure. Well, why don't you start out, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your background.
All right, yeah. So I'm at Latimore. I used to fight professionally, and now I make a living writing. A lot of writing these days. I just secured a book deal with Penguin, so that's been eating up a lot of
Awesome,
my
awesome.
writing, and I know that's going to take things to a high level. And then writing for my newsletter, the Stoic Street Smarts. I send out an email. I try to send one out once a week, especially now that people are paying me. So that makes a difference. But all of my writing centers around the things that I learned through the different phases and activities in my life. So the first phase, I grew up in public housing with a single mom and dealt with that stuff. And then I started boxing, but I didn't start boxing until I was 22. But as I started boxing, that really revved up my alcoholism. And I didn't get sober until the end of my 20s, I think 28, maybe 29. I know definitely, I don't no later than 29, because it'll be, I'll have 10 years this year. So it'll be, it's the very tail end of 28 this December. And and I also, went back to school and really tried to fix things and learn physics and math, even though I was a failing math student. So there's all these all of my writing comes from all these places, and then also the things that I'm most interested in. Like at this point in my life right now, I'm most interested in probably, I guess the best way to describe it would be biochemistry and biomechanics. And I'm really putting a lot of energy into that. I even signed up for some Coursera courses to just keep me along track. But also, finally, really immersing myself in learning Portuguese because my wife's Portuguese, and now that we have a kid, we're going to take him over there. We're trying to go. Freaking State Department messed up the passport situation. But now we just got it, so we're trying to go for the holidays, but we'll see what happens. So that's a sum up. I mean, I'm sure as we talk and ask questions, more things will be revealed. But that's generally the who and what of me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that really interested me about, speaking with you specifically is I really am drawn to and, fancy myself a little bit of like kind of that typical Renaissance man idea, right? Where you're doing a lot of things. You're doing chess, you're learning a language, you're a pro fighter, you're a writer. I think it's really cool speaking with people that are dabbling in a lot of different things, especially because I think in the modern world, right, there's so much emphasis on specialization. Like you have to go in and you have to do this one thing. And I think it's a lot more beneficial to you as a human being to, like kind of sow your oats in a lot of different areas and fields because you learn so many things from so many different areas. You're able to kind of put all those things together and become this very unique individual, right?
Yeah, you end up with a lot of different analogies to work with to interpret the world,
Yeah.
and the cool thing about doing it this way is when you so analogy isn't perfect, and when one thing in a disparate field is not like the other thing, so
Yeah.
you can only get an approximation, and some of those approximations are really good. For example, chess is a good approximation for planning and for the planning and strategic parts of life, right? You set a plan, you see how things are going to turn out, you read the field, you look at the obstacles, and then you come up with a counter, or not a counter, but you come up with a way to navigate. That's a very important part of life. But life is not so. A lot of people don't know this, but chess is not even technically a game by the purest sense of the word because computers can solve it. There's no uncertainty. So we have to come up with another analogy for the uncertainty of life, right? And that's why I like poker is another analogy, right? So you're dealing with that uncertainty. You don't know what cards you're going to get. How you were born or what's going to happen. It's how you play it, how you make the most of the situation. But then when you lose, you need another analogy, and then so boxing comes in as this great analogy for getting back up after you've been knocked down and figuring things out and dealing with pain and suffering towards something righteous. So I just get analogy on top of analogy on top of analogy. When I went back to school, I didn't have the math chops, and I spent a lot of time improving my math chops from when I was a terrible math student in high school. But what really helped is I had this, I guess, for lack of a better word, life experience, and that helped me create these different analogies to learn different things. And so I think the most powerful thing a person can do is you said is learn different things in completely different disciplines, and you start going, people go, why are you learning X and Y? My wife was like, why is there a sketch pad here? I'm like, well, I figure it will help me as I learn anatomy to sketch these things out and to make these sketches, and it does, and it also makes me a better artist, and it also helps me remember all these weird anatomy terms like medial and distal and lateral, anterior and posterior, and they're not weird, we just don't talk like that.
Right.
And learning those words helped me learn the romance languages better, but it also helps me it's helped me teach boxing because I can tell a guy, well, I need you to move laterally, and as you punch, I need your shoulder to come to the middle. And even if I don't say, move towards the medial end, like I have the idea. And that's why Renaissance Wisdom is the podcast is called. And learning different analogies is really important.
For sure. I want to congratulate you too on the the book deal with Penguin. That's a big deal.
Yeah, they that's I don't know, man. It's a really cool thing because I didn't know any of this going into it. I got really lucky, and that could be a whole podcast. But I was trying to get a deal, and I got a deal, and I didn't know who was going to get me a deal or who my agent was. Believe it or not, I had a very roundabout way into this game, but I ended up in probably the strongest position, certainly for a first time writer, you could ever end up in. What a combination of who my agent is and who I'm being published by.
For sure. Your previous books, did you self publish all those? Because I know you.
Self-published, right?
Yeah.
It's self-publishing is a hell of a game, man. The
Yeah.
first book was, people like it. I think it's terrible. I did it on a shoestring budget, is then I had my friends editing for me, so there's tons of typos. But the title was good, and that caught a lot of eyes. The second book was, I had a lot more money at that point, and I could put some real care into it, real execution, and it turned out great. But this one, I'm like, oh, all I have to do is write. But I still have, but it's weird because even all I have to do is write. Now the writing's at a much higher caliber, and it's a different story. But I'm having fun.
Yeah. Awesome, man. What else are you working on currently?
Currently, man. So the one of the best parts about having, you have any kids?
Not yet. No kids yet.
Let me tell you the cool thing about having a kid, because I didn't know if I was going to have one. This guy just, when you're with somebody for 10 years, there's no accidents, but there are unplanned events, and this guy was very much an unplanned event, and I'm so happy he's here now, because what a kid does is you kind of get on their schedule, as weird as it sounds. I mean, they get on our schedule too, but we get on theirs. And because like I can't like delegate the child or outsource the child, I have to set everything up around him. And so what that has made me do is I've gotten, you're the, I actually told some people in June that they were the last podcast I was going to do till 2024. So you made it in.
I got lucky.
But normally I've been, I've cut out all the podcasts so I can focus on writing this stellar book. Because I know if I do this correctly with the people and the tools I have around me, this thing is going to put me on the map. I think I'm on the map, but you got to think that. But the reality, if I step back, is I know there's some levels to go. So there's the book. There is I'm training again to fight, but this time as a cruiserweight. So that's people who don't know boxing. I fought as a heavyweight. That's the heaviest you can be. With the minimum is 201, but I'm a small heavyweight, and I always wondered what I could do. Plus, in this 7 years of being off, I learned a lot more. I started coaching a little bit so I could see things, and I was like, well, I'm only 30. I mean, I'm not only 38, but I've kept myself in incredible shape, especially because I don't drink and I don't eat nonsense. And I know, and I've got the record from when I fought, so this will be a really fun thing to try. So I'm doing that. So there's the book, there's writing, and I'm working on my membership offer, because one of the things that I really didn't like about my we'll call it my rise to popularity on the internet is that I didn't really have a focused way to make money. And the way that I found to make money, like I'm good at writing, but that's not what I want to teach or discuss. So now I'm really focusing on building this membership that ideally will be launched in the next, I think, 2 to 3 weeks.
Awesome.
We'll see. And then I'll just be in the background as I build and grow and expand on topics that I'm writing about now. that are more aligned with my interest at the moment, and work with the book and all that stuff. So there's that. It's those are really the three biggies. And I mean, because the kid is not my full time job. Everything else is a side hustle, even though that like the kid doesn't pay rent.
Yeah.
So I gotta go. I gotta do that. So those are the things that I'm working on right at the moment, and I think that in a year I'll look back and just be like, wow, this was really something. It really worked out great. But we gotta keep busting ass, keep hustling.
It's always a grind. There's always something going on, especially when you're, putting yourself into all these like different areas. That's how that's kind of how my time goes. It's like I got like my full-time like day job career. I've got, the podcast. I got the next book that I'm working on. I got jujitsu. I'm a Brazilian jujitsu guy. So, and gym and
Nothing
everything.
against the BJJ guys.
Yeah,
Every now and then I'll make a jab online, but I got nothing but respect for the BJJ guys. I think everyone should do a striking, even an amateur fight. But other than that, I think the cost of boxing for most of us exceeds the value received,
yeah,
and you can practice BJJ till you the day you die. You fuck around and die boxing,
for sure.
and
I actually, I don't think I've ever like talked about this on the podcast or anything, but I'm an 0-1 professional boxer, and the way that happened
oh,
was, I was a 3-0 amateur MMA fighter. Like, people knew me in the local community. I was like 19 and never done, an amateur boxing match. I did take boxing. Like, I did, get sparring rounds in, and I went up to like this local place called the PAL Club. It was the police athletic league, and I go
athletic
up and
league,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I hit bags and stuff like that. But I was never like, you know, technically on a bag I was good, but as you know, like hitting a bag and hitting hard is totally different than like getting in and doing that really skilled like footwork and sparring and hand pads. So
Hitting a
um
moving target.
for sure. And I had this guy was kind of like a friend, a guy that I knew. He was a local promoter, and this is like before, Jake Paul and all these like guys were coming in and like all these crossover fights. But I guess, he just was like, oh, he's a local MMA fighter. He's 3-0. Let's bring him in for a boxing match. And they told me like, oh, you're gonna fight this guy. He's a can. He sucks. I know you've never had an amateur match, whatever. And um, I come out and fight this guy. He's like 7-0, fighting out of like
That
Windy City Boxing Gym, and
See,
it
man, they ain't
it
shit in
sucked.
boxing.
It
That's the kind
sucked.
of thing they do in boxing.
Yeah,
They're like that sounds shady, but that's typical boxing shit. They told, hey, he's a cat. He's 7-0.
yeah,
Look, I had they try, and a lot of times they try. My pro debut, I fought a guy who was a southpaw, was 4-1 because now they had to do it though because I came off of I had a very different boxing background, a
yeah.
very extensive amateur career, with like some notable wins over some names that got big and won the Police Athletic League national championship in 2000. What was that? 11 or 2011. So like they're like, all right, well, no one's really trying to fight you, so here's here are our options, right?
Yeah,
And so I fought this guy, and I was actually down on the cards. I knocked him out, man, because I got a great coach who told me what to do, and I just listened, and it changed the outcome of the fight, man. I put that guy to sleep.
that's awesome. It definitely. I wish I could have pulled off an upset like that, but man, I got beat up, and like when I was like after the match, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, man, I've done 3 amateur MMA fights, and I basically go out, take everybody down, and just beat the crap out of them until the ref stops it. And I'm like, I basically I think I got hit like twice in all 3 of my fights. I mean, they all ended first round very quick, and I started thinking about it. And I'm like, if I keep fighting, eventually I'm going to end up having fights that are like this, where I'm going to be forced to stand up with somebody. Maybe I can take them down eventually. And I'm like, do I really want to take this kind of like damage? Because like you said, like that, the damage that you take in boxing is just different than the damage that you take in jiu-jitsu or even honestly, even MMA. And I think that a good example of this is like when Conor McGregor fought Nate Diaz, right? It was like he went out and he finished everybody very quick. And when he went out with Nate Diaz, not that Nate Diaz is this like super skilled boxer, but he's a guy that can just absorb damage and just keep coming at you. And it's like so many boxers, like you've learned how to absorb damage, to cover up, to be this like freaking wall that you can throw everything into and you can just absorb it and keep firing back and just keep walking somebody down. That's a different experience, like when you have to, like, the idea of like going a 12-round fight, that's so different than even MMA where it's 3, 4, 5 rounds and it's over. So props, man. It's a mental game, but it's a very physical game. I mean, you're just you got to take damage.
Well, I mean, you what you end up having to do is you just I wish that there's nothing like boxing. That's why everything is the analogy. That's why boxing is an analogy for everything else, and there aren't. I haven't encountered many analogies for boxing. The whole thing. So it's hard, and I would not even go as far as to describe it as fun. It's
Yeah.
It's just what it is, and it is not enjoyable. But you know what it reminds me of? I read this article a while ago, and they talk about these two types of fun. They talk about type 1 fun and type 2 fun. Type 1 fun is like, oh, let's go out with the boys and drink and party and chase bitches, like that kind of fun, right? Roller coaster trips and post on IG hashtag YOLO, all that shit, right? But then there's the type 2 fun, which is like running a marathon, raising a baby, or a professional fight. These are things that don't feel good at all. They're just not fun.
Yeah.
And in the moment, you're not really enjoying yourself. But at when you finish it, you look back on it. You look back on it kind of fondly, and you go, you finished it. You did it. You developed. It's weird to put them in, even use the same adjective for both. Fun. But I don't think our language gives us a better positive word to describe those activities.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think I probably gravitate towards the type 2 fun a little bit. It sounds like you probably do too. There's something about the grind that's like terrible but kind of enjoyable at the same time in a weird way.
Well, for me, happiness is not fun. Who cares about fun? Who cares about being happy? I think that's one of the most. I think that's one of the best lessons I got from my childhood, quite on accident. Is it, who cares if it's fun or enjoyable? What's it doing to advance your position in life? Because for whatever reason, I figured early on that if it's enjoyable, or rather, let's throw that out the window. If it expands or enhances my capabilities, then what I end up being able to do later is have more fun. But if I get too caught up in the fun, I'm not going to be able to continue because my capacities won't be expanded. More succinctly, I always tell guys, the greatest danger of success is success. Is that when you're successful, you kind of want to chill out and party or whatever, and it's not good. Marvin Hagley used to say that. He's like, I can beat that guy. He's in silk pajamas and I'm up running at 5 a.m. He's too comfortable. So when you look at it that way, at least that's how I look at it. That's how I kind of reconcile the relationship between the grind and having fun. Is that I know if I stay focused and work hard, I'll be able to enjoy life, and if I don't, then it's gonna suck. Like the arc of my life. A lot of people don't. I mean, they do know, but I was before I got sober and really got on the ground with everything. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any way to make money. I was an amateur. Well, I mean, I turned pro, but there ain't no money in boxing. Like it but because I put my mind to like a path and really focus, and it did the work definitely, especially from like 2014 to 2016. Fun is not the adjective that I'd use to describe that period of time, but it made such a big difference in my ability to enjoy my life. It changed everything.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too, and I know you've kind of like roundabout referenced your childhood a little bit. I did want to ask you specifically, about, kind of what it was like growing up and how you think that like some of the struggles and the things that you went through growing up shaped your mindset today.
Um, for better or worse, I understood very early, probably earlier than a child needs to understand. For better or worse, I understood that no one was coming to save me. That's
Yeah.
popular to say today with a bunch of guys who ain't
Military
never
guys.
really been,
Yeah.
military guys too. But I hear it floating. I see it floating around on the internet a lot, and it's popular for these guys to say, but I don't think they've ever been in a situation where they really had to be left alone and figure this stuff out. And not like where you're expected to. Like it's one thing
Yeah.
when you're 20 and they're like, yo, you need to get a job and figure this lifting and life thing out. It's a totally different aspect when you're 11 and watching your mom get put into the back of a police car. You got to figure things out. That sucks. Different aspect when you got to worry about on the school bus being thrown off the school bus. Not like thrown off by authorities, but like thrown out the emergency exit when it's speeding down the highway. Because kids doing dumb shit like opening the window.
Yeah.
You got to be able to fight for yourself and fend for yourself. When you because I didn't have any family, so it was just me and my sister. So I understood real quickly, very early on, that nobody was coming to grab me. It wasn't really a thing, and that's how that carried with me into my adulthood for sure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, boxing is a great example of that type of activity where it's me and nobody else in there. You figure it out. You have fun. You don't have fun, but you figure it out. You solve a
Right.
problem, and you solve a problem that's painful to solve, even when it's not painful.
Yeah.
So that's really the biggest thing that I think has swung either way, positive or negative. I've got a great. I think better than I used to think it was better than the average person. I just used to think that now I know after talking with people on the internet and seeing the shit people fall for and believe and think, when you grow up in that environment, you don't get scammed, you don't get hustled, or at least not more than once. So you start looking for different signs, and you can see them, and I don't. It's not that I know who's a scammer, who isn't on the internet. But I know when shit doesn't add up because I know what things look like and I know people because I had to know people. If I didn't know people, I'd mess around and do something stupid, say something stupid. I have to navigate it, and that transcends levels because of the fortunate circumstances growing up. I spent the first 14 years all like pretty much 98% of the time in the projects or around people from the projects in the hood, and then I go to this school across town that is in a completely different social economic bracket, and I have to learn how to speak and move and work a different way, and all of this comes back full circle and helps me become a better communicator and be able to read people's communication. So
Yeah.
when I see people, I know who's full of shit. Like at the very least,
Yeah.
I assign a probability to it. I look at that and I go, man, you are definitely faking the funk, brother. And it's crazy to me because I guess now at 38 and having started, I consider myself without a doubt a late bloomer in every aspect, right? So having started late, I know all it would take is like, two years of some real work to build a real body of work. But the problem is now everyone thinks all you got to do is make some money online and you're the man. Like when you look at the skill stacks, all the skill stacks, copywriting, email marketing, social media marketing. So everyone, these guys are, they think that making money makes them valuable, and it's as far as from it. But yeah, that's a bit of a rant, but
Nah, I'm with you, man. And sometimes, like, I do the podcast, I wrote the book, I try to put out like, daily quotes and inspiration. And, unfortunately, like that stuff only sells to like a small group of people, right? Like what tends to be, it's like you look at some of these like YouTubers, right? You look at these people and they just stream nonsense and just scream and just bring women on their show and talk about asses and just like these like Aiden Ross type characters that you see everywhere. And you're like, fortunately, like that's entertainment, right? And it's like what
yeah,
you talked about with type 1 versus type 2, right? Like some people, they want to just veg out and they just want to watch like the lowest common denominator, like basic, like least thought intensive thing that they can possibly immerse themselves in. But there's a smaller group of people that want to watch something that they can learn something from and that enriches their life. And
because man, check it. Like humans will always assume the most energy efficient configuration in whatever they do. That's the most general way of saying we take the easy way.
yeah,
Uh, and that applies to our thinking and what we consume as well. People aren't. It's not natural to want to go study something difficult. It's natural to want to do something easy. It's not natural to want to go. When I get off this car, I take my son. We go running for 2 miles. And he can't run yet. He just sits on a stroller and shit. But
yeah,
that's not natural to get up and go do that every day. It's a lot easier to just chill out. But the what you get from it is so what you get from it really makes a big difference. Your whole life changes when you decide to embrace a path of difficulty and not just in some abstract here's a motivational quote way. We're just using this example to running. Me running, that's going to make my health better. That's going to improve my quality of life because of it. Right? It's going to
yeah.
make sure that as I get older, I'll have fewer and fewer issues, and I'll be able to even benefit. If I just when I go train because I get my running right. But I just think there's a like you said, man. People don't they want to consume fun stuff that doesn't really make a difference. But
Yeah.
now,
Well, it's a trade-off, right? I mean, it's a sacrifice. It's kind of like, like farming would be a great example of it, right? Is like when you decide that you want to do something that's difficult for a purpose, it's kind of like taking the time to like rip up the soil and till it up and put fertilizer in it and water it. And you have this like long labor of love, but at the end you get this food that can come out and nourish you and, provide sustenance for you versus, you know, it's like the old story of the ant and the grasshopper, right? I don't know, you probably heard that one, but like
yeah,
the grasshoppers, they just run around during the summer and they just eat what they do and they fly around and they have fun. And
it's
the ants, they take all the food and they put it down in their hill. And in the winter, the grasshoppers like, hey, let me get some of that food. And the
It's
ants
like
like,
the I can't. It's like the owl and the squirrel or something. I can't remember.
yeah,
Very real, like similar story, but same idea.
yeah, you see it everywhere, right? And it's the same thing. Like everything is that, diet is that way, exercise is that way, reading a book is that way. Like, it's not, I mean, it is enjoyable to read a book, right? It can be enjoyable to like prepare healthy foods. Like there is a sense of fulfillment that you get from these things, but generally it's because you kind of know that you're doing something that's like good for you. It's a different type of satisfaction than just grabbing like the pizza, right? Versus like grabbing something that's a little better for you. So I think that it's and you know, Jocko says this a lot. The discipline is freedom. I think that
Yeah.
that's so true. You know.
You want to know another place that I popped up recently in the conversation? And I used to try and tell my buddy this. I just saw somebody say it, and I was like, yeah, you know, you get it, because I just never seen somebody else say it that way. And it was, you know, when you have like when you're in a relationship, you're way more free than when you're not, because
Yeah.
you can't stop chasing, like guys can't stop chasing up, ruin their lives chasing chicks, and can't, no discipline, no time, because there's a trade-off. Like you kind of can't be disciplined, otherwise you won't get the opportunity to meet a woman. If you're too disciplined, you know, that matters. So you have to devote that energy to take care of that. And the less successful you are, the more energy you have to devote, kind of by definition, because you're still in this state of singleness.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, man. A lot of guys waste a lot of, I won't even say waste, because waste implies that they get nothing for it. A lot of guys use a lot of energy chasing women, you know, and it never it never goes well. It uses up a lot of power. It takes a lot of time. So
That's very, very true. You know, there's like a saying: "It's behind every good man is a good woman." Right? I mean, a good woman,
well,
man.
not, you know, yeah, not even that, but I mean, just think about it. How, that's the most powerful force, arguably. One might argue that the need to survive is greater in humans. But those are the two that are weighed up against them. When you look at R&K type style reproduction, when they talk about those styles that all civilizations or our societies adopt in both the animal and human domains, it's, are you putting your energy towards reproduction or survival? So those are like the two. That's why I say arguably the two most powerful driving forces in human nature. So if you're not, if you don't have the ability to reproduce on lock, you're gonna spend a lot of time dealing with it, because you don't have to worry about survival. Not in the 21st century, certainly not in any developed nation.
Yeah.
So you got all this energy to put towards that, and you're gonna ruin a lot, man. Especially if no one ever taught you discipline. You see it all the time, guys. You know, they turn 30 and their biggest accomplishment is like getting hosed. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely easy trap to fall into for sure. I wanted to ask you too, like, so a little bit about like your boxing. I was curious, like what actually made you take a step back from boxing? And by the way, I know you mentioned earlier you're planning on getting some fights coming back, so I'm rooting for you, man. I love a cool like comeback story, like someone steps away and comes back. So
Yeah, it'll be fun. Certainly, I mean, I stepped away for a long time. My last
yeah,
fight was the end of 2016. So we'll see what happens. But I feel confident. But I have to feel confident. So who knows?
yeah,
But as far as what made me take a step back initially, you know, I had my last fight in the ring in December. I fought to a draw after I lost in September that year. And you know, you got to understand something about boxing. To a certain point, you become more valuable as a loser. I had more big money offers after I lost that fight than ever before. Guys are calling me, come fight this guy for 20, come fight this guy for 40. I'm like, you fucking crazy. Because I knew the game. Fortunately, I knew the game. Even if I wasn't me, I was surrounded by people who were veterans of the sport, and I learned a lot from them. So let's like put that seed down, so we have to deal with it. Um, I took the next year off. I took all of 2017 off, let my body heal, let me finish up my degree without having to get to the gym, because you can't just phone in a physics degree. I was really busting my ass for 2014, 2015, and the first part of 2016. They're miserable. I don't even like when I think about it. I think about the only other time in my life I've been this miserable. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful time. Only other time in my life I was that miserable were the first 2 months of Henry being here, because that shit. A newborn is a lot of energy, a lot of sleep deprivation, and I'm lucky. I don't have a job. Like I work for myself, is what I like, or I'm not on someone else's schedule. I can't imagine how other people deal with it. But so I do all that. 2018, I start training again. I'm getting myself back in shape. And then I go spar with this guy that I wasn't supposed to spar with, and got injured, got a blowout fracture, broken rib, and a concussion, and I had to pull out a fight. Now I'm a fight I was set to go fight in New Zealand, and then my coach at the time, he's still my coach, still good friend. He's just, first he was mad at me, and then he goes, look at where your life is right now. You don't really need to do this. I had just that month. This was May, and May was the first time I made more than 10 grand on the internet in a month. It was also, I also had graduated that month, and I was like, you're exactly right. I'm gonna go travel, because I've been my wife. She's always been involved in travel. When I met her, she was the assistant director for international missions at school, and so she had to go on trips for that. And then she runs a travel agency, she's an independent travel agent. And I said, I didn't really get a chance to go on trips because, well, one, I didn't have the money, but two, more importantly, I didn't have the time. So I said, I'm going to go do that and go see some stuff and see the world. And I started doing that. And it was really a good decision. I wouldn't have been able to live in Portugal. We lived in Portugal for a little while. Spent a lot of time in a lot of different places, and Africa and Europe and South America and Central America. Really fun. Oddly enough, I like Canada a lot. At least the places I've been in Canada, and I've only gone to the nice places. So Vancouver, Montreal, Quebec City. And that's always been something I wanted to do, because it was something I didn't get a chance to do at all growing up. Travel was not a thing. I didn't get on an airplane until I was 18, and that was because of a recruiting trip to the University of Rochester. They paid for me to fly to Rochester when I was playing football. But I wanted to see the world. And then when I stopped doing that, I realized that I had the opportunity to make a much bigger impact on the world with my writing. And so I put a lot of energy into my writing, and that paid off. And I'll tell you what, man, there have been several months, or most months, I make more than I ever made in fighting, and that's a hard circle to square, man. Going back to that lifestyle, and the time it takes, knowing what the financial trade off is when you have other ways to make money. So that's pretty much what it was, and I was just like, and I was still in the gym. In fact, I was the sparring partner for Roy Jones Jr. when he was fighting Mike Tyson, and so there was that. But like, I didn't like do anything else really with the sport, because I was so focused on other areas of my life. And it was a good time, man. And now going back, I'm not attached to it whatsoever. I don't need. Now I think if my plan is even halfway successful, I think I'll end up making a bit more money than I ever had, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm mainly going because I think it'll be one, a really good promotion for the book that is titled Hard Lessons from the Hurt Business. Two, because I want to test out a lot of ideas that I developed about mechanics and movement that no one taught me. Uh, and three, it'll just be a cool thing to do. I wanna know if I could have done cruiser. I shouldn't have been a heavyweight, but that's just kind of where I stumbled into. Because the division changed a lot while I was, especially near the end of my amateur career, or the end of my pro career. Like if it was where it was today, when I started, it wouldn't even be a question. I would go straight to cruiserweight. These guys are huge. I'm only 6'1". Average height. I don't remember the last time I seen a fighter under 6'3" and under 230 pounds. And those guys, and you got to remember something. Them guys they're not cutting per se because they don't have to cut, but they're walking around with a lot of strength and mass. Like it ain't like, when I come, like it's like for fight week I come in around 215 because that's what happens when I am training. I come in at 215, then I chill out that night before the fight. I don't rehydrate because I wasn't trying to lose water, but I don't run or hit pads all day, right? So I come to fight night probably like 221, 222. These guys, a percentage for them, the same percentage is a lot bigger. So even though he comes in on the scale at 235, but 240, he's probably gonna be in a fight that night. Yeah, 246 to 250. See, and that's a big difference, man. It's a big difference. Like the height and the weight, not it's hard because I have to be in way better cardiovascular conditioning than people have any idea, because that weight pushing on you is hard, and you can't like stand there in front of them and take the shots because or roll with the shots. It was just a harder game physically, so I want to see what happens when I'm coming down, and I'll have like the natural size advantage, and I won't be the tallest guy always, but I should be in like the 80th percentile as opposed to the 10th.
Yeah. It sounds like it'll be a better fit for you. Like your story reminds me a little bit of mine because I was training and competing full time in jiu-jitsu, and I had a couple of injuries and took some time off, and I kind of ended up like refocusing my life in different directions as well. But it's like I don't have that regret or that feeling of like, hey, what if I could have? Because I was kind of like right there. I was knocking on the door of success, and I just kind of chose to go down a different path, versus like never have tried it or just giving up. I think it's a valuable thing to say like, hey, I had this thing that I wanted to go for. I did it. I got there. And, like the chessboard of life, I looked at my pieces and I rearranged them and found there was a different path forward. Something that I hear about a lot, or I've read about, is like this concept of goal amnesia, right? Where you're so focused on a goal that it's like you forget that there are other opportunities. And an example of this is there were some climbers that went up to Mount Everest, and basically this group was just, like a normal group. Like some of the people had already attempted a couple of ascents up to the summit and they hadn't made it. And there were some weather and some timing things that were going on that basically this group wasn't going to be able to make it to the summit. They were going to have to turn back around. And someone made the call, or just collectively as the group, they made the call like we're going to go up to the summit. And every indication was that wasn't the move. And they went up, they got trapped, and like I think, I mean, I don't remember if all of them died, but like a vast majority of these people died. And a lot of their bodies are like markers up on the mountain that people that climb, they still see because they can't bring them down. And I think that they're like, especially in the self-improvement world, there's so much emphasis on like goals. You got to do goals. Like I'm not really a a goal guy because I think that you like I have a direction, but I feel like you have to be kind of flexible to what life gives you if you really want to capture those
Yes.
opportunities, right?
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. I've never heard that story, but that is a powerful illustration of right what happens when if you don't have what's the word I want? I have a saying for it.
Yeah.
Never be so sure of what you want that you won't accept something better.
Mm,
And
yeah.
that, that story of those climbers, everything is saying like, yo, we can just come back another day,
Yeah.
you know, and they're like, nah, we're gonna do it, it's the wrong decision because it's based it's when you base things out of ego, you're gonna make a mistake, even if you get the right outcome. It's how you get it that makes all the difference. You know, it's how you get it. And if you get it if you get it the wrong way, or rather, if you get it the right way, then what you've done is you've created a sustainable process. And in that process, you can extrapolate it, you can transmute it, transcribe it, or transmute it, transfer it. That's what I wanted, to other domains, and go, okay, this worked. This was a sound process. I've eliminated the role of luck, good or bad, because I followed a process. It wasn't attached to how I felt about the outcome. I was detached, as they say, right?
Hmm.
But when you make it about your ego, the outcome, and saying, "Oh, I climbed this mountain, I did it," uh, you you might get to the top. They could have just as easily got to the top. But what that have served as a good story or a good example, it would have been a great story. But what it have served as a replicable system of thought and approach. You might end up taking a wrong lesson, fuck around, solve the wrong problem, and then you got to deal with that. So these kinds of things, people have to think about when they make decisions about their life.
Mm,
They
yeah.
have to decide, okay, do I want this so badly that if things go pear shaped, that it's gonna be like not not straight up for me, I'm
Right.
writing a speech on that right now. I have to deliver about, you make a you have to look at the decisions in your life like bets. And there's a great book on this called Thinking in Bets. And when you do this, you are now forced to ask yourself, what happens when if I'm wrong? Kind of an expected value problem. And if that expected value is really bad, like you die without a good trade off, and then you're making the wrong choice. If I could take a plane, we get in airplanes all the time. If that goes wrong, it tends to go pretty bad, right? But the odds
Yeah.
of it going wrong, did you know what the odds of getting to a plane crash are? Like, it's nuts,
It's
especially
low.
especially
It's
flying
low. Yeah.
if you fly only in the United States, you will never die in a plane. Like, at the very least, if you do, no one ever will die again. Like,
Yeah.
it's that low.
Yeah.
Um, but that's acceptable. But imagine if it was 1 in 500,000. I probably wouldn't fly. That's it's a little
No.
too high for me considering how often people fly. So that kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, driving is a way, way bigger risk. I mean, you're like, I think I saw someone break down the odds of dying in a plane crash in the United States is like, you're more likely, I think, to get struck by lightning twice.
Twice, yeah.
Something crazy where, and how many people do you know that have ever been struck by lightning, right? Like, you don't even,
Even once,
yeah,
let alone twice. No,
yeah,
it's crazy. That's a thing, but it's
yeah.
true.
A book that I might recommend you if you've never checked it out, just because it's on the same topic, is it's called On Grand Strategy. Um, I, I
Uh,
I can't remember the name of the author, but I think you'd appreciate it just from like I can tell kind of by the way you think and everything. He looks at like different generals throughout history and kind of I guess, breaks down like kind of the opposing mindsets that went into like why this person succeeded or failed. And it's like, it is history. It's like, it's interesting from that standpoint, but I really like how he breaks it down into kind of like mindsets. So I don't know. I just make that recommendation too. I think you might like that
On
book if you
grand
never.
strategy, yeah,
Yeah.
man, that sounds up my alley. Because I'm always looking for good books on strategy. Oddly enough,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm gonna type it in right now, so I have it to reference.
Sure. Um, something I want to talk to you too. If somebody right now is listening to the show and they're going through a struggle, because you've gone through a lot of different struggles, right? You've made a lot of sacrifices to get where you are today. What is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody going through like a difficult time?
Um, this too shall pass. There's actually two pieces of advice because it depends on why they're going through a difficult time.
Sure.
Assuming something happened to them, this too will pass. Shit happen. Like people die. That's a hard thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, but everyone dies. Everyone has to die, and I say that to lead into to a bit of inductive reasoning here. In general, life is hard, and and hard things will happen, but that doesn't mean they're bad. I was talking to a friend the other day on the same topic of someone dying, and he's having a hard time dealing with the death of his mother. And I reminded him, I said, "Look, would you have preferred that you died before her? Would imagine what that would do to her, having to put her baby to rest? And one of you got to go first, right? It's not like you were shit out of luck and didn't get the immortality gene.
Yeah.
So I remind people that things are difficult, things are hard. That's part of life, but we live on and we grow and we get resilient. Now, if you're going through a hard time due to your actions or lack thereof,
Mm.
The difficulty of a task is irrelevant if it's vital to your success. So I would remind them. I would say, you know what you got to do to get out of this hard time.
Yeah.
Don't fall into the trap of thinking that because it's hard that you can't. A lot of people let their feelings paralyze them, and not take action. So that is what I would remind them to do. Look, man, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, you don't have any money, whatever, right? Yeah, you feel like shit. But, I will tell you why you're going to feel like shit in a year if you don't do anything about it now.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. And I don't, that ain't like lovey-dovey feel-good advice, but I think we focus too much on feeling good and we
Yeah.
don't focus on the fact that the good feelings come from being effective in the world. They come from making a difference. They come from overcoming things. Which all of these things, they tend to be a little unpleasant, right? So
Sure.
you gotta be willing to run into the fire if you want to be saved.
Yeah, I really like that you made like a really important distinction there, that it's about acceptance, but there's kind of like two different types of acceptance. There's like, one is like accepting responsibility, even if it's something that's beyond your control, right? Like, I'm going to accept like kind of taking control and trying to like steer and react to this thing, but also, accepting if this event is something that you created, because there are actions that we do. They're, just dumb shit that we do in life, things that we shouldn't be
Yep.
doing. And we have to deal with the consequences of that. Like, I know that, for example, like you talk about in your background, like getting sober, right? If the bad things that are happening in our life are the results of the actions that we keep making, we have to accept responsibility and try to reshape that. But at the same time, there are also events that that just call it random, call it luck, call it destiny, call it the plan of God, whatever it is. that just happen, and we just have to accept them because there's nothing we can do about them. It didn't come from our actions. There's nothing we can really do to change it. So I mean, it's acceptance, but there's different types of acceptance for different situations, right? Not every like response can just be summed up for every different situation. Every situation is a little different. You know, you got to strategize it.
It's it's the best way to, yeah, man. Life just keeps throwing shit at you.
Yeah.
You know, that's not going anywhere. So stop thinking, or stop trying to create a life where you're free of problems, man. I don't that's just an exercise of futility. It'll give you a headache. Instead, just focus on getting better, stronger, more capable, developing a faster reaction to things. You know, a lot of problems are they're a lot less problematic if you get to them early. A lot of people want to avoid them because of the pain, like my taxes. That's how I look at. That's how I think about with taxes.
Taxes sucks, man. It's like they take like a third of your money so we can send it to freaking Ukraine, you know, so they can like it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Nah, they hit my they effing hit my when you're a business, because I pay myself as a LLC S corp, which means I got to make payroll.
Yeah.
Which is nice though, because I keep a lot more of my money this way. But I gotta pay myself every time, which is weird because there'll be money in my checking account, but then I have to run payroll. Okay. But one of the things that this whole situation, and with the kid too, responsibilities are really good. If you don't have responsibilities, you're probably gonna be a piece of shit, man. Like it's just there's no other way around it. Like,
yeah,
and that's kind of by definition, but like a little bit of a stretch. But responsibilities force you to consider the repercussions of your actions or lack thereof. You know, because before, if I didn't worry about my taxes, like, all right, whatever. What y'all gonna do? Take me to jail? Well, they're not gonna do that. Not for you. I mean, you gotta really be trying to.
Yeah.
Yes. But like now, it's like, all right, man. I really don't want to deal with this stress. Like that's what it is. Is you by avoiding stress, you end up having to face more stress. Deal with more stress. The world is funny that way.
Yeah. So the last little kind of section here, I always ask my guests a set of little questions. We'll run through them. Just kind of looking at you personally, like your daily habits, things like that. So, like starting off, what are your daily habits? You have any daily habits you run through?
I wish, man.
No.
No, believe it or not, I'm not a daily habit kind of dude.
Okay.
Because now I gotta kind of, in general, I don't have like a morning routine, daily habit that I do always.
Right.
But what I do is, what is the task of the day? What is the order? What's important? And I get, for example, like right now, I just happen to get a few different things not related to one another at all diagnosed. So I got to take some medication every day. All right, that's cool. So I just get up, do it immediately. Boom. Okay. But I'm also getting in shape, so I got to make sure I go run. And I have to make sure I write at least 1,000 words a day, which is slowing up a little because I'm nearing the end of the book and editing. But I still try and get my 1,000 in because I have my website, my newsletter. So right, let's scratch that. Let's say the one thing I do is I try to write every day, and the minimum. I don't feel sick if I get 500 words down. I feel better if I get 1,000. Anything after that is a bonus.
Gotcha. Yeah, it just it sounds like you kind of have an organization, and you're kind of playing the chess game every morning. You kind of wake up. Here's where my pieces are today. Here's where they need to be. Here's what I need to do. So it makes sense.
And,
right?
and in that sense, because there's nothing. I wish I had a regular routine, but it's
hard,
life
especially with the kid,
happens.
right? The kid probably.
Oh, the kid don't give a shit about my routine. Well, yesterday he was up at 6:30. Today he almost let me oversleep.
Yeah,
And it's not like I can't. And it's crazy. It's not like I can just be like. It would almost be easier to have a routine if I had a regular job and I wasn't writing a book and trying to build things.
that makes
Because
sense.
I take the uninterrupted hours in the evening because he sleeps pretty good at night. So I'd use that. So I gotta sleep in during the day, otherwise I'll be walking around like a zombie.
Yeah.
With consecutive days of 5 hours sleep. So yeah, that's what ends up working out. That's what ends up happening.
Cool. What about two book recommendation? What are your top 2 books?
I tell everyone they should absorb the Course in Miracles, because the Course in Miracles really helped me develop a framework for forgiveness, and forgiveness is really important. It's helped me in my life. It continues to help me. And then after that, The Art of Learning.
Yeah, that's
The
a
Art
good
of
one.
Learning by Josh Waitzkin. I think that you'd be surprised how you can improve and optimize. I'm not big on reading books for um for motivation or inspiration, and I don't think you can learn mindset or anything from books or anything like that from books. But The Art of Learning is a book about learning. It's tactical, right? It's not a mindset thing. It's what he figured out from chess and Tai Chi push hands.
Yeah. I really liked that book. One, just obviously being like a fighter and having that connection there, but I think it's really important that he emphasizes like so heavily the idea of like intentional practice, right? Like
Yeah.
actually, because it was kind of like I was talking way back in this show, like where I was talking about just like hitting the bag, right? You can say like, oh, I'm gonna be a boxer. Like I went in every day and I did an hour of bag work. Well, cool. You're gonna work on your power, but what about all the other parts of your game that you're missing? What about your footwork? What about your reaction? What about your head movement? What about your timing? What about I mean, there's so many things that you're going to miss if you just do that. So you have to look at your training and say, all right, like, here's where I'm weak. Here's where I'm strong. Here's the areas that need more emphasis. Here's, I need to put in the road work and, get my cardio up so I have more endurance. I need to, get more sparring time so I can work on my head movement. Like, you have to be intentional. You can't just go in and be like, all right, I'm here. I'm gonna work the bag for an hour. You're never gonna get the results that you want that way.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually one of the things that I learned when I first got to my coach when I transferred. It's weird. There's a whole story behind that. But when I first ended up with my coach, who was the coach of my whole pro career,
Yeah.
is like hitting the bag like how you fight and it's not the same as a fight, but the intention and the power and the energy you put forth, it is like a fight in that regard, the output.
Right. I want to ask you too. I always like to ask everybody: do you have any like personal heroes or anyone you look up to?
Um, Other than my coach, not really.
Yeah.
My coach is the only, and I didn't have a role model or anything like that until I was 29 when I first started training with my coach, Tommy and Kellogg. Other than that, nah, I mean, I try to take what I can from people, try to learn to become better,
Yeah.
I would like to. I don't have any role model. I mean, because I just never grew up with them, and it never
Right.
made sense. So I didn't meet anybody like that until I started fighting.
Hero's a strong word too, because hero like kind of implies an almost
Hero,
like
role model,
yeah,
none of that. I mean, there's
yeah,
there are people who have more traits than I want than they don't have, right?
right,
But
yeah. I think that's the popular answer, right? For sure.
yeah.
So last question I got for you. Let's say you could hop in a time machine, go back to little Ed, going through the teenage years, or maybe, seems like a lot of the difficulties for you started even before the teenage years. But, if you could pick a moment in your life where you really needed some advice and you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice, what do you think it might be?
Oh man, there was a period in my life when I was it's part of, it's not the only part, but it's part of what led me into boxing. Um, I was just in this just a rough, just awful, ugly space, and I didn't have any way out of it either, which is the worst part. When you got problems and you can travel or take class or stuff. No, I was just a broke loser. I would tell myself that, and this was right around this period of time when I was about 22. I would say focus on building. Spend 2 years just put all your energy into learning a craft, learning something. You ain't gotta go to college. And that's kind of what I did with boxing. I probably would have chose something with a little better ROI.
Sure.
But it still accomplished what it was supposed to accomplish, which was changing the trajectory in my life a little bit at first, and then a lot later.
Yeah. I think that's a tough thing about that question is like, if you're kind of like, if you're happy with who you are today and where you are, not to say that there couldn't be improvements or whatever, but it's like, if you're happy with who you are, I think it's difficult to really want to go back in time and change much. You know what I mean? Because like, even the bad things,
shit, man, look,
they made you who you are.
Here's how I look at it. Like, you can, when people say they don't have regrets, what they mean is they don't regret the outcome. But there are a lot, well, who they are today. But there are a lot of fucking processes that I regret. Like
Sure.
I wish that I had never had the alcohol problems.
Yeah.
Because I'm not good at, I can't in good conscience go, well, it turned out good, so it's cool. I think about the people I interacted with, and the people I hurt. I think about the risk I took where the coin just happened to land up, but just as easily could have hurt or killed somebody.
Right.
So if I could, that's another point. I'd say don't drink, don't touch the bottle, man. Just stay away. And what's crazy is I'm writing it now. In my book, all the signs were there that I was going to become an alcoholic. Well, like all of them. It's kind of weird. Like, but if no one knows them, to even let alone tell you, yeah, whatever, right? You go for it. But yeah, we have we know a lot more about addiction now than we ever have, because we keep trying to learn. And one of the things that, if you want to talk about a risk factor, I had just about every risk factor you could have. In fact, I mean, like, to be honest, why didn't I become a crack kid? Because that shit scared me. Because of who I grew up next to crack addicts and heroin addicts. But booze didn't scare me. Initially, I was put off by it because my mom was a big drunk. One of the reasons why she got arrested. All the people around me were big drunks. Initially put me off, but then there was a social component to it of fitting in, finding this group with people.
Right.
But if it had been hard drugs, it'd have been hard drugs, man. It's just crazy. Like, just looking at stuff like that. But now it's not a problem, thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Congrats on that, by the way. I mean, that's a big accomplishment. Huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I do not know what my life would be without it. Every day I look at Henry or Anna or my house or the opportunities that I have, and I know it all started when I stopped fucking my life off. Like,
yeah.
You see that a lot, man. You see a lot of celebrities write that, man. I thought they was just BSing, playing lip service. Nah, man, that shit is true. I've seen Morgan Freeman say that, Bradley Cooper. No, I mean, not Morgan Freeman. There I go getting all black actors confused. Denzel Washington say that. Bradley Cooper say that. The opportunities really happen. Robert Downey, though he was talented, I just watched this speech he gave where he was thanking Mel Gibson for taking a chance on him and getting clean and helping him get clean and cast him in this movie in a part that was written for him that helped him get his life around. The power when you have, and it's not like just drinking, because that's what people gotta understand. It's not like, oh, I was having a few beers, and when I put the beers down, I really dialed into shit. Like, nah, man, we talking alcoholic shit, like
Right.
compulsive, obsessive, to excess drinking. And some of us are just wired that way, and then when you put it down, it opens the floodgates, because that wiring has to now, like we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, when you have one a neural network from another skill helps you learn another one that'll help you learn another one in the future. You got this obsessive compulsive excessive set of personality traits that you were focusing on. You were focusing on something destructive, and when you remove that, you focus on something new. Man, shit, it's not even my life doesn't even look the same. It's kind of actually weird, like looking at it.
Yeah. Well, Ed, man, I really enjoyed speaking with you today. If anybody listening wants to reach out, look you up, get in touch with you, find out more about your work, what's the best way for someone to look you up or reach out?
All right, so I'm Ed Latimore everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on top of that, my website is edlatimore.com. So anybody who wants to reach out, find me somewhere, that's the best place and best way to do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. I really, really enjoyed speaking with you today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Hey, thank you, man. I hope you have a good one as well.
Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Renaissance Wisdom podcast, and hopefully you learned at least one lesson on today's episode. Our mission here is to uncover practical wisdom to create a better way of living for our audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us by leaving the show a review on your podcast platform of choice and by giving it a share on social media. This really helps us to grow our audience and to continue to add more episodes. If you are interested in learning more, please check out our website at renaissance-wisdom.com or check out the book that started it all, Renaissance Wisdom: How to Flourish in the Modern Day, now on Amazon. Thank you again, and may wisdom be your guide.